Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're going to be looking at another R.Paul Wilson and Penguin release, and that is Spectrum, the amazing color changing deck. Now this is something that came out decades ago but from R.Paul Wilson. It then got republished around 5 or so years ago by Penguin, and now it's gotten another facelift recently and a kind of marketing of the effect recently. So it's come out in the public eye again. So that's why I'm making the review. Now I have the middle baby of this is the routine that came out 5 or 6 years ago. And you can see because of the packaging, the new packaging is completely different, but the routine, the handling, the instructions are still the same. So I think that this is still gonna hold its weight. So let's roll the intro, dive into this and learn if this is for you. Okay, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Spectrum. So what is Spectrum? Spectrum is essentially a color-changing gag that turns into a triumph, that turns into a color-changing card, and then turns into a color-changing deck. That's essentially what Spectrum is, and I think the best way of me to kind of do this is to do a small performance. Now do keep in mind, because of the camera angle and everything here, it's not going to be the best performance that I can do, but again, we'll deal with it. So essentially you would introduce a red deck of cards and you tell someone that this is the amazing color changing deck of cards. And as they can see, it's a red box. And if you just shake it like this and snap your fingers, the cards inside will change to blue. And you can show that the cards have now changed to a blue pack of cards. Thank you very much. I know that is probably not very impressive because you may think that I just had blue cards in the box from the start, but that is not the case. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna have you choose a card, but I wanna have you pick it. I'm gonna have you think of it. So then you would instruct the spectator to think of a card that they can see. Let's say you got one, so they think of any card that they can see, and then you tell them that what you're gonna do now is you're gonna mix the cards in a very interesting way. You're gonna mix them face up and face down. And the way that you're gonna do this is just like this. You're gonna put 2 and 2, just like this, and you're gonna mix up the cards just as so. And the reason you're doing this is because you're trying to see and trying to determine if their card that they're just merely thinking of is one of the face-up cards or one of the face-down cards. And again, because of the angle here, I'm doing this a bit slower than I usually would because I'm scared that the angle is just flashing everything that's happening in the routine. But again, we work with what we have. So then I would say, okay, so from what I got from here is that your card is definitely a face-down card, was it not? They would say no. And you say, oh, then I'm really sorry, but I think I just completely missed it. What was your card? Let's say they say the 4 of spades. You'd go through, and where is it? The 4 of spades. Okay, so yeah, I really didn't think that was gonna be your card. But you know what? I feel kind of bad that this is kind of going awry, so let me try something different. So the cards are mixed face up into face down, right? But look, if I just do this and a shake, all of the cards now rearrange each other in perfect order. But not only that, you had selected one card at the start, correct? Your 4 of spades. And if I just snap my fingers, your 4 of spades is the only red card in the deck. But if you also look at the deck here, which has been standing on the side from the start that we've been using, the deck also now changed color to red, and you can see every single card in this deck is now red completely all the way through, and you can spread that out and you can see. And that is the routine of Spectrum. Now again, yes, we are dealing with the camera angle, so it is something to ponder, but I do think it gives you the idea of what this is and what it can achieve, and the fact that it is very interesting and very poignant in terms of a routine. So knowing this, where do you get this? How much does it cost? And what do you get? So you can buy this from Penguin Magic, of course, but you can also get this from other retailers, which is kind of, I think, the resurgence of this effect is that it's been being pushed to other retailers as well, notably ALAKAZAM. They've got this in stock, they've been performing it, they've been marketing it even more than Penguin have. So yes, this is available from other shops as well. What you're gonna pay for this is 30 USD, which is around 44 Canadian dollars, depending on the exchange rate. And what you get is this box. You get this nice flap box. Yes, your design is probably gonna be a bit different, but you're still gonna get this kind of tabby box with a magnetic flap. Inside, you're gonna get your tutorial video, which is around 30-ish minutes long with R.Paul Wilson live performances, and it goes over everything that you need to know. And then you also get your deck of cards, which is this deck of bicycle cards, which is gimmicked to the brim. Now, this is gimmicked to the brim. Like, I can't even tell you how gimmicked this deck is. It is very heavily gimmicked, but is gimmicked in a very beautiful way and a way that lets you achieve everything simultaneously and fluidly. So now that you know what you are getting with your purchase, let's now talk about difficulty. So how difficult is this to perform? Well, this is relatively easy to perform. I think this is pretty much self-working. There is the bit of procedure in the middle, which can be for some people cumbersome or unenjoyable, but it is part of the routine. And I do think that it sells the idea that you're mixing them face up into face down, but you can put pattern that, oh, you're trying to see if their card is going to be one of the face up ones, one of the face down ones, whatever that you want. You can spin it that way. So yes, there's that little procedure, but that makes everything much easier. There's no need for a pharaoh shuffle or a perfect riffle shuffle or anything like that. Everything is self-working, super easy. As long as you can dribble and kind of riffle a pack of cards, you're pretty much able to do this routine. It is very, very, very simple. Now moving on to practicality. In order to do this effect, you're going to need, well, your decks. You're going to have to carry around this deck with you. You cannot take these gimmicks and put them in your own deck or anything like that. You will need to carry this deck with you in order to perform the actual routine. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. So you will need to carry around an extra deck for this. However, in terms of repeatability, this is repeatable. The thought of card can change every single time. In terms of examinability, it is not examinable, 0%. You cannot hand this out to the spectator whatsoever. The only thing they can really touch is their selected card, but except for that, they're not allowed to pretty much touch anything else. In regards to table, you will need a table for this. You're going to need a table to perform this effect. In terms of angles, the angles are pretty good. They are kind of 360. Again, the angle of the camera is always the worst because it's always shaved on the table. So sometimes it catches glimpse under the cards that normally people would never catch if they're actually staring at your magic at normal eyesight. But so angles are also pretty good in that regard as well. Moving on now to where do you perform this? So where would you perform this? I think this routine would work very well in parlor. I think it works extremely well in that setting. I think this is also something that would work online, so via Zoom or anything like that. I think this would work. And also casual settings, so close-up settings where you're with a specter at a table, seated down, or table-to-table cocktail parties. I think this works really well because similar to Backfire that I reviewed just previously from R.Paul Wilson, I think this has a lot of potential kind of magical moments. One, you have the gag at the start with the color changing deck. You then have a triumph effect that is super clean. You then have a color changing card, and then boom, you have a callback to your routine, your gag at the start of the color changing deck, whereas the deck actually changes color. So I think there's a lot of layers, a lot of things that the spectators are gonna not see coming. They're gonna be like, oh, that's happening. Oh my God. They're really gonna be bewildered by the magic after the procedure, which is nice because you're doing this slow procedure, you fail, and they're like, oh my God. And then you just hit them 1, 2, 3, 4 with every hit, one after the other. And it is very nice in that regard. So venue-wise, I think you can perform this pretty much anywhere where you have a table and seated or standing up spectators, you could perform this routine. So having said this, what are the positives and the negatives of Spectrum? Well, first of all, the negatives of Spectrum are that the fact it is not inspectable. It is heavily gimmicked to the brim, so you cannot be inspecting this or handing it out in any way, shape, or form to your audience members. So once your routine is done, you place this in the box and you do something else. You can do a deck switch or you can do anything that you want in order to perform another effect, but you're not going to be able to essentially leave this on the table or do another routine with this deck with your spectators. Another negative is something that I forgot to mention is the reset. The reset of this does take a bit of time. If you want to see how long the reset takes, is I'm going to be resetting this right now while I'm talking to you and while I'm giving you the positives, because the reset and the inspectability are the only negatives that this product has. So in terms of the positives, one, it is very well produced. Two, the deck is, yes, it's gimmicked, but it's very well made. The instructions are great. The routine packs a punch. It's very easy to do. It's pretty practical. It's a color changing deck and a Triumph all in one. And additionally, what I can say is that it is, I think, fun for the spectators as well. And that's how long it took me to reset the deck. So what was that? 30-ish seconds. And as you saw, you have to do that underneath the table or something like that in order to reset it. But that is what I wanted to say about the positives and show you the reset as well. So considering all of this, would I recommend Spectrum and what do I rate it out of 10? I think if you're someone that does parlor magic and want to open up to kind of a quirky, fun routine that packs a lot of magical powers and sets the stone kind of for what your show is, I think Spectrum is a very good trick to do that. I think that especially it's nice that you can do it, you change the deck, and then maybe you go into a coin routine or something, so you just place the deck back in the box, you do another routine, and then you bring out a normal deck and you continue. I think it's a very good opener as part of a set. As a singular trick, I'm not so sure, but as part of a set, I think that it is a brilliant thing to have, and I heavily recommend it if you liked what you saw. I do think it is good. So considering that, what do I rate it out of 10? I would rate Spectrum a 7.75 on 10. It is, I've not been performing it that much because I don't really do close-up parlor card sets. Now I'm mostly into mentalism, and even back when I used to do card magic, I used to do a very mix and mingle type settings where I didn't really have time to sit. So it's not something I've consecutively used or used a lot, but it's still a very good, worthwhile product for $30. This is very well made and you will be extremely happy. 7.75 from me. And that's all I have to say about Spectrum. Thank you so much again for watching, always supporting me on the channel. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I answer most of them. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all in my next review. Have a great one.